Thank you for asking. My name is Amarjit. I'm having 7 years of experience based on the Java development. So currently I'm doing the development based on Java with the Spring Boot microservices. Uh, I think Hema Priya is calling. Hello, I joined already. Yeah, just now I seen you left. I joined. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for that. So my name is Amarjit. I am having 7 years of experience. Currently, I'm working with the Java development. So the technology which I use, like Java with the Spring Boot microservices, a Spring Cloud component as a backend, and also have a good experience in AWS Cloud Services and all the DevOps tools which I'm using for the development and deployments and all, like Apache, Maven, Jenkins, Jira, GitHub, ELK, Splunk, and all. So these all are the technology stack which I'm working. Coming for this domain, I have also good experience in the different domain like banking, telecom, e-commerce, and health insurance project. So currently, I'm working with this health insurance project. So
Okay.
there, that my role and responsibility, like on daily activities, we are following agile. So based on the agile, whatever the sprint task will be defined. For that, we need to work on the Jira task. So on daily activities like developing a microservices, which is based on Spring Boot with microservice architectures. So we are creating a new microservices if requirement, and some of the cases we have multiple microservices are there. For that, we need to communicate from one service to another service, or maybe some third-party services. For that, we need to develop a API. So that API will call either REST template or maybe Kafka will have a messaging queue, which will be asynchronous communications. Apart from this, like also I have whatever the development I have done. So we need to manage in different deployment development. So some of the cases, what will happen, like if the deployment will happen in the production, in that cases we will need to stay on the call. We have to verify our changes, whatever the changes I have done, is that working properly and not low, so that we can collect the request response and all the changes, configuration changes, or maybe logs which I am able to which I have ended or entered to print the proper logs and all. So that we need to verify, so our productions deployments and all will go smooth. And also if anything will be there, then immediately we can go for this like hotfix deployments and all. So that type of work I am doing in this current project.
Okay. Okay. Got it. We're currently working with Cinetron
Yes.
and client is Trans America. It's a is it like into healthcare?
Yeah, it's a healthcare project right now which I am working.
Okay. So w- what is it about? What kind of application is it?
Sorry, what is
What kind of application is it?
that? Is basically is like applications which will handle the all the insurance for the third party vendors and all, so that if users can come in the particular portal, then he can take whatever the insurance he want. Either we can take it from that portal only. So and we need internally we'll have a third party call, so we will provide a best of insurance facility for the particular customer. So this is the main which we are.
Okay. Is it a web application?
Mostly web and app also is there.
What do
Mostly
you mean?
mostly web applications which we are working.
It's a web application, right?
Yeah.
And is it based on microservices architecture?
Yeah, it's a based on microservices. So we have a multiple microservices. Like suppose if users will come in this on this service, and he want a particular insurance, either maybe term life and health and all. So in that cases they will go for this portal, and then portal will process the insurance. If users is selected, then order will be created, and after that that will go for the particular slot store, and that will be managed, and then calculate the amount. Once amount will be calculated, then how much amount is applicable. For that, is there any promo code and all is applicable or not, so that promo microservices will call. Once promo will be called, then amount will payment. Then in that cases we'll have a notification service, that email notification or maybe SMS notifications will be come for this particular registered mobile number of the customers and all. Apart from this, also we have a scheduler, so which will be send this notification to the customer, on monthly basis or maybe quarterly basis, what is the premium due date and all. So before that you can get it the some alert like you need to pay the amount before the end of this date and all. So like that, our applications will work. So mostly we'll use the technology with Java, Spring Boot, Microservice, AWS cloud deployments and all there.
Okay. Okay. And what is the tech stack?
uh,
Like,
text Tech stack will, I told, like Java with a Spring Boot microservice is a backend, and also have a cloud services as a cloud, and all the DevOps tools which I used like Apache, Maven, Jenkins, Jira, GitHub, ELK, Splunks and all, and database which I have like Oracle, Mongo and all.
okay. So, which are the services, I mean, cloud services you are utilizing?
Yeah, cloud services mostly I use like EC2 instance, Elastic Beanstalk, and Lambda X functions, and Elastic Beanstalk, Lambda functions, DynamoDB, CloudWatch, SNS, SMS. So these all are mostly which use S3 buckets.
Okay, can you explain me the usage of these cloud services with example from your project?
Yeah, so SNS I use for the simple notification services. Like while the customers will have a like a due date and all will come in this particular month, then we need to send some notification. So with the register mobile number or email, so mostly we'll have a sending notification through the email. So that SNS we have configuration for that, and SMS we use for the mailing transfers. Like we have a bulk amount of mail which need to be sent for the customer, some email alert or maybe some information which is required for the insurance and all. In that cases we can go for SMS, or maybe some premium related uh, receipt we need to send. For that cases we have to send the SMS. So that we have a AWS services will provide this facility, so directly we can integrate, and multiple users we can handle is as soon as easy. And apart from this, S3 we use for the storage while we are deploying any services in our microservice base. So that static data on all we can store in S3, and based on this image ID we can call. And EC2 instance and Elastic Beanstalk will use for the deployment. Suppose if you are using for the deployment, then Elastic Beanstalk will have a options where we can add our microservices path, or maybe Docker image details. And apart from this, if you want some other external activities like any messaging queue you want to integrate, or any database, so either Dynamo or maybe some external database, so that you have to call in that database, and after that you can deploy your applications in EC2 instance or Elastic Beanstalk. Apart from this, like CloudWatch, we have a multiple monitoring purpose, so we can monitor the microservices logs and all the events based on the span ID, trace IDs and all. So that will be provided by the CloudWatch. IAM user, which will be provided, suppose if you want some authentications or security related for access, then in that cases we can go for IAM users. And lambda functions also will use like suppose if you have some event handler program, or maybe some functions related which we need to create a API in our backend applications. Now you want to access through the lambda, so whatever the repetitions call will be there, instead of that we can create a lambda, so that directly that will be hit in this lambda functions and it will be called. So that type of work I used in AWS services most of.
Okay. About Spring Boot, how many years of experience you have?
Spring Boot have 5 years, in Java 7 years. So yeah, so in that the Spring Boot have used multiple module like Spring Cloud, Spring Data JPA, Spring Cloud, Spring Web MVC, Spring Wave, and then Spring Messaging, Spring messaging I used, Spring Web Flux and all. So these all are the component mostly which use Spring Actuators, Spring Swaggers and all. So I used
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. So with Java, which version you have used recently?
Java 7 and Java 8 I used.
Java 7 and 8. Okay. So what are the features on Java 8 you have used in your application?
Java 8 mostly I use the features which is used for the optional, which need to be handled for the null pointer exceptions and all. If you are not providing any null pointers exceptions or maybe null empty zero and all, in that cases we can handle through the optional. And we have like a lambda expressions which will be handle create a lambda functions expressions without method name and all, so easily we can process our data. So stream API, which of stream API we can process the data. So while we are creating a stream API, in that cases we have a multiple method and functions, lambda functions. By using that we can process the data easily with fastest manipulations and a short time of coding. So that is lambda functions, elastic lambda function, stream API, and optional I use. Apart from this we have a method reference and then datetime API that also I used. And yeah, so in that we have a predicate function, consumers and all, which need to be used in the stream API. So stream API we use mostly multiple method like filters, map, flat map, collectors, collect.
Okay. Okay. So is it possible for you to share your screen?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. Let's do some coding with this.
just a minute. Yeah, are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see. Yes. Okay. Okay. So in Java, right, we have
Yeah,
concept of immutable objects. You must be aware of it, right?
sorry.
Immutable objects,
Okay.
right? You know, right? What immutable objects
Yes,
are?
yes.
So write a class, okay,
Mm-hmm.
which gives me using which I can create a immutable objects. Okay. So the class structure that I give you. Hold on. I just explain you. Okay. So the, the object is employee object you have to create, okay, which has couple of members like the employee ID, right, employee name, okay, and address. So address is another class which has properties such as street address and zip code. Okay, so considering all this scenario, you have to write a class which can give me a immutable object. Got it, right?
Okay, yeah. So the we have to create a class in that employee ID, name, and salary will be there, right?
So hold on, let me see if I can ping you. You see my message? I just open the very click here. Go to chat. There is an option on the right side, top right here. Okay, okay. Let me ping you. What are the class members? Okay. Employee. Okay. Address. Address. Okay. And address has following properties like address. It has a integer code. This is the thing which you have to consider.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got it?
Yes.
So just write a class which can give me immutable objects.
Okay. Uh, Daily string name. Okay. So this is the employee and this is the address which will be called. Now you want to make it immutable as a employee class.
Yes.
Okay, so immutable. So we can make it as a class as an employee in that all the variables attribute will be the final private,
Okay.
and then we'll create a constructor as a private and there we'll have a only getter call. There is no setters and all.
Okay.
Then that will be called as a immutable class.
How about address?
Address will be yeah. So the address will be called this class of employee. So this will be inheritance. Dip it in all. Address will call this one. Address. This one. Address also will be like the same way we can make it as uh,
Like what?
this create a constructor as a private and then after that we'll have a getter of zip code cities.
Okay. 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 That's fine. Do you know what is the difference between a deep copy and a shallow copy?
Deep copy and shallow copy, like while we are modifying any changes for that, so that will be deep copy will be worked on this exact of like the main object which have been created, that original object will be reflected in that, and shallow copy will have a like they will create a clone of exact copy and there that will be reflect. So there is no original object will be modified or any changes will happen in there.
Okay. How about serialization? Have you heard of serialization
Yeah, C
concept?
license mostly will use for while we are converting this file from one network to another network. In that cases, C license will be work like we'll have a based on like while creating a DTO classes and all, in that we'll have a serial version UID. So we can mention the serial version UID is a 1L or something. So in that cases, while the file will be transferred as a byte code, so they will create a serial. In this, based on this ID, that will be created a byte code. While once that will be deserialized, then according to that ID only that will be deserialized, so that data will be consistent and easily will be deserialized. So most of the cases we use serialization and deserialization while we are communicating each other.
Okay. And do you know what is externalization?
Externalization is a use of we need to send the data as a compressed form. So in that cases we can use for the externalizations.
Okay, interesting. Okay, can you explain me a exception hierarchy in Java?
Exception hierarchy, exception is main classes. In that we have a runtime exception and error will be there, so that runtime exceptions, sorry, exceptions will have a compile time and runtime. And so compile time will happen at the date of compile, and runtime will have on runtime that will become handle. So by using exception we can handle by using two ways. One is try catch throws, and others will have a create a custom exception, and then we can add this custom exception. So runtime exceptions like array index out of bound, arithmetical exceptions, array out of arithmetical exceptions and all, null pointer exceptions and all will come as a runtime compile time exception. And runtime, like we have a array out of bound exceptions and all will come.
Okay, okay. Do you? Okay, fine, that's fine. Hmm. So, how about Spring Boot? You said how many years of experience on Spring
5 years.
Boot? 5 years. And okay. Hmm. Do you know what is the life cycle of a Spring Bean?
A Spring Boot life cycle, like beans will be bean will have a life cycle, beans will have a instantiate, then after that, while that will be go for initialized, that then beans will be started, and after that beans we have a process the file while we are creating the objects and all, or maybe communicating from one to another, and then that will be destroyed. So this will be handled by using 3 to 4 step for the bean life cycle.
Okay. What are the default scopes available for Spring Bean?
Mostly we'll have a multiple scopes are there in beans. Default is a singleton, so that will be, yeah, always will be created a single instance. If already instance is there, that will be referred. Else apart from this, we'll have a prototype session, global sessions. These all are there. Request and all.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. Do you know? So, what is your awareness about aspect-oriented programming, which is supported by Spring?
AOP is used for if you want to handle point cut, or maybe join, or maybe before after this type of executions if you want, then in that cases we can use AOP. So AOP which will be used to communicate or maybe handle the things, but I haven't used AOP, this all.
Okay. Okay. Fine. How about microservice architecture? What is your exposure?
Microservices 5 years, so mostly we'll use Spring Cloud component based applications. So like Eureka service registry, these type of things we handle. Like we created multiple microservices, and after that we have managed the services by using Eureka service registry, Cloud Ribbon, API gateways, and all histories and all. So these type of things I used, and mostly we'll have and based on that we created applications. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. And what are the design patterns
In
from
microservices, mostly used design patterns like Saga, CQRS, API gateways, and 12 factor things I used in microservices. Apart from this, in core, we used Singleton, MBC, DAO, and then builders, factories, and all.
Can you share your screen one more time, probably?
Yeah. Mm. Are you able to see now?
Yes. Okay. So just write a class which can give me a singleton
Mm-hmm.
instance.
Write a class.
Can give me a singleton instance.
Okay. Like that we can do while we are creating this one, the singleton. We have a get instance will be there. That guest
Mm-hmm.
instance will check like if the instance has been created or not. If instance
Oh,
is null, then they will create a new instance, and else it will go for the existing instance.
okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So, Amar, what are your expectations like? What kind of role are you looking for?
uh, Role as per this experience and all,
Mm-hmm.
mostly which I'm looking like we can handle the teams and we can do some independent developments and all, whatever the developments and all as per the requirements. So based on
Okay.
this microservices, Java, cloud,
Okay. How much
and
your total experience is?
7.2.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense. Amar, that is it I want to discuss. Do you have any question, concerns?
For which project you are hiring, like what will be the technology and domain?
Yeah. So project details I don't have. I come from tech panel. So in terms of technology, we are looking for someone who has like, very strong at core Java,
Mm-hmm.
right? Spring Boot, microservices architecture, hands-on AWS experience.
Okay.
Good to have, understanding about CI/CD
Mm-hmm.
and then build tools. Good to have
Jenkins
you,
and all.
yeah. Good to have no awareness about UI technologies. Not mandatory though, but yeah, that
Okay.
is what it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for your time. Amar. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye. खाना निकालो। हम्म, खाना निकालो खाना।